So welcome everybody. Thank you all so much for being here today. My name is Justin Kelleher. I'm a registered yoga teacher. Today we'll be doing a hour-long Vinyasa class. And so the thing that I always like to say about a Vinyasa class or any type of yoga class in general is really that everything that I have to offer in this class today is just that. It's just an offering. So I really encourage you to listen to what's going on inside your body, honor what's happening inside your body, being really aware of, what's happening, just really working with awareness and making choices that work for you, and knowing that you have the authority to let go of whatever doesn't work for you. You can come to lie on your back. You can take child's pose. You could practice the entire class in Shadasana. Really just listening to what's happening inside you, what your emotional energy level is, what your physical energy level is, and just honoring that and being true to that and being aware of that. And so for props tonight, if you have a couple of yoga blocks, that would be helpful to have. Also a blanket if you like some support underneath the knees, or maybe if you'd like to cover yourself up during Shadasana. It might be a bit chilly if you have the windows open and you're here in Boston. But we'll go ahead and get started tonight, lying down on the back. So you can come to lie down on your back. You don't have to bring any props with you. And just spread yourself out. And just like you were setting yourself up for your final resting pose, your Shadasana. But we'll start practicing this shit today. And just take these first few moments, just make any micro adjustments that you might need to make, just to relax the body, acknowledge the ground underneath you. You can close your eyes, or you can let your eyes be heavy. You focus them on something uninteresting on the ceiling. In these first few moments of practice, use as an opportunity to shift into your time here for the next hour. And so letting go of anything that you might have been working on before you came to your practice tonight. And doing your best to let go of everything that you may have to do after your practice tonight. And grounding yourself down here into the present moment. Just let the body be really heavy. Really observe everywhere that the body makes contact down with the mat. So the back of the skull, and the shoulders, hands and legs, and feet. And just observe what it's like to be here in stillness for these first few moments. And if you find that the brain is running in circles and the thoughts are traveling, it might be helpful to ground yourself into maybe the rate of the breath, or the sensation of the ground underneath you. And something that's concrete and tangible, and not the thoughts. And so as you're ready, take your right leg and hug it up into your chest and grab a hold of it with both hands. You can give it a nice squeeze. You can keep the left leg extended out long. You reach out through the heels and keep the feet active. Or you can bend the left knee and plant the sole of the foot down on the ground, whichever feels best for you. And as you gather the knee up into the chest, maybe you notice what's happening to the back body. Making more contact with the mat or less contact with the mat. observing where the mind goes. We're in these still and static shapes before we really get moving. And you're welcome to keep the knee hugged into the chest, or if you're feeling up for it, you can grab a hold of the foot and take a half happy baby with the right leg. This might be a bit intense this early in the practice. If it feels any discomfort, just let it go and you can keep the knee hugged into the chest. Just take a couple deep intentional breaths down into the low belly, wherever the right leg is. Notice if you can expand the belly in every direction so the belly reaches up towards the ceiling and back down into the mat. Simultaneously, it reaches out in both directions, left and right. And take one more big breath into the belly. And as you let it go, release the right leg, extend it out long, and take yourself back into that Shadasana shape. And just for a moment here, notice if there's a difference between the right leg and the left leg. One more of the big, deep breaths into the belly, expanding the belly into every direction. One more long breath out, let it go through the mouth. So this time, take the left knee up into the chest, gather it and hug around it. You can keep the right leg extended out long, reaching out through the heels with the toes really active. Or if that feels like it's a bit much, you can always bend the knee and plant the sole of the right foot down on the mat. Both are great options. And so here again on this side, really noticing what's happening with the back body. Noticing what happens as you squeeze the leg into the chest. Can you find a bit more grounding, a bit more connection downward into the mat, more stability? And you're welcome to keep the knee hugged into the chest, or if you'd like to move into a half happy baby, you can grab a hold of the outside edge of the left foot with the left hand. Again, if this is too much, great to be keeping the knee hugged into the chest, whichever works best for you. But wherever you're working, then come back to this concept of letting the breath expand the belly in every direction. So it expands out to the right and left, up towards the ceiling and back down into the mat. And so while we're here in this static shape, we're introducing a bit of a stretch into the leg. And doing work amid stillness. And take one more long breath into the low belly. And exhale, release the left leg back out long, back into that Savasana shape. And take a couple rounds of breath here. Again, just observing the hips, observing the area around the low back. Noticing if there's anything different in the legs than when you first came to the shape before we pulled the knees into the chest. So now take both knees up into the chest and give them a big hug. And then rock your way and take a bunch of little rocks up and down the length of your spine. And eventually we'll come to meet in tabletop, facing the top of the mat. So take your time to get there. And as we move tonight, I encourage you to pay attention to your transition. So you're transitioning between shapes. So take your time to get there. Once you'll arrive in a tabletop shape, this might be a great place to take a blanket and lay it out just for a bit of support underneath the knees. And in the tabletop shape, the wrists are below the elbows, which are below the shoulders. And the knees are underneath the hips. And press down firmly through your fingertips, through the palms, and press down firmly through the tops of your feet. And so as you inhale, arch your back, drop your belly, and pull your collarbones forward to find cow pose. And so we'll linger here in this cow pose for a few moments. You can draw the shoulder blades together on the back. Take your gaze directly forward out in front of you. So here we are again, lingering in a still, stagnant shape. No movement here. We'll encourage you to use this time of stillness to begin to think about the transition as we move into our next pose, which will be cat pose. Just being really mindful about how you're going to take that transition. Maybe you'll be aware of the low belly. Maybe you'll be aware of the shoulder blades drawing apart on the back. Take one more big breath in, open up across your chest and cow. And then exhale, push the ground away, round to the back, draw the shoulder blades apart, find a cat pose. So again, lingering here in stillness. As you press down through the hands, the shoulder blades draw apart, the belly button hollows up towards the spine. And these are things that might not be visible to anybody watching from the outside. But the practice is yours and it's internal. So really focus on what you can do to draw attention to what's happening inside the body as you transition through the postures tonight. And so we'll flow with breath between these two shapes. Inhale, arch the back, pull the collarbones forward, find cow pose. Time the breath with the movement so you're completely full. And then exhale, round the back, hollow out the belly, cat pose. Again, inhale, arch the back, collarbones come forward, open up the chest, cow pose. Exhale, cat pose. And so continue this at your own breath pace, using the inhale to arch your back, the exhale to round the back, being really mindful of how you transition between these two shapes. And so it is the first day of fall, the season of transition between the extremes of summer and winter. And it's also a time of letting go what doesn't serve us, and gathering what we might need for the upcoming winter. And so as we continue to move through practice today, I'll invite you to continue exploring your transitions through the shapes, noticing what you do in these postures that might be serving you and what you might be able to let go of. And finish the round that you're on, come to a long, flat tabletop. Walk your fingertips a print forward, tuck your toes, and push your hips up and back and come into downward facing dog. So this is the first downward facing dog of the practice, so feel free to pedal out the feet, maybe wiggle the hips side to side, maybe you dip the shoulders. And taking this as an opportunity to check in with your body, stretch out anything that might be feeling tight. Maybe shake out any excess energy. Maybe you drank a couple too many cups of coffee today. Using this pose as a gauge of how the body and mind are. If downward facing dog doesn't feel good for you, you're always welcome to take child's pose or tabletop. So press down through your hands, bend your knees, reach your hips up and back towards the sky to really lengthen out the upper back, lengthen out under the armpits. You take a big breath in, sweep your left leg up back behind you. And then as you exhale, step your left foot outside of your left hand and drop your back knee into lizard lunge. So the left foot is stepped outside of the hand. Both hands are on the inside of the foot. And so you have options here. You can stay up on tented fingers. If you have blocks, you're welcome to put your hands on blocks. Maybe you drop down onto the forearms. I'm just being really aware of what options you're taking in the shape today. So you find something that feels strong and steady and supported. Take your gaze on something unmoving. And we'll settle into this stillness. Using the stillness in these shapes as a place to build concentration and focus. A place to listen into the body. that maybe we can help discern what's serving us in our postures and what is not working. And slowly, if you're down on the forearms, slowly walk your hands back up. And take your right foot and kickstand your shin off to the back of the mat so your right shin's parallel. And then cartwheel your hands up so that you're in a supported warrior two. And so the left knee is still bent, the right foot is kickstanded. You're in the supported warrior two shape. Reach your fingertips out long and take your left hand to the inside of your left leg. So now maybe you can press the left leg into the left hand and then press the left hand back into it. So you might be able to find a central place there. So for as much as you're giving with the foot, you're taking with the inside edge of the leg. And so finding a nice steady balance between those two, and maybe that balance can help you reach the crown of the head up a little bit higher. So you're welcome to stay like this, or you can turn your right thumb down and bring the back of the hand to the sacrum, taking a half bind so the right hand slips into the left hip crease. And so all the while you're here in this stillness, you're pressing the left hand into the left leg into the hand. And that can help you find a central place from which you can reach up a little bit taller through the crown of the head. And take one more big breath in here. As you exhale, plant your right hand on the outside of your right leg. Extend your left leg out so it's parallel to the top of the mat. And reach the left arm up, coming into a supported side plank. And so in the supported side plank, you can take your gaze up towards your fingertips, or you can take it back down towards the mat. If you find that there's any discomfort in the neck, I really advise that you take your gaze down to the fingertips. It can help release some tension in the neck. One more big breath in this shape. Exhale, plant the left hand down, walk your hands down the long edge of the mat, rebend into the left knee, unkickstand the foot, and you're back into this lunging shape that you started. Take a big inhale, sweep both arms up alongside the ears for a more traditional low lunge. And so in this shape, hug your legs together. So imagine that there was a block between the legs and you were squeezing it together. With that squeeze, reach up through the pinky edges of the fingers. And so while you're in the stillness of this shape, really take account of what's working here. So the legs are coming together, the fingertips are reaching up, but notice what's happening in the jaw, in the brows. Notice if you're clenching your teeth. Notice if the clenching of the teeth or the furrowing of the brows is adding to or detracting from what you're gathering in this posture. I'm just being aware of that, aware of where you're placing your energy in the shape. Bring your palms together to touch overhead. Take a big breath in. As you exhale, slice the air over to the left. Hook your right elbow on the outside of the left knee. And take a twist. If this feels like too much, you can always take the right hand and plant it on the outside of the left leg, and then reach the left arm back behind you. So a real gentle twist. Keep hugging the legs together, reaching up through the crown of the head. Maybe you let the collarbones open up just a little bit more. And checking into where you might be holding tension, where you might be holding tightness, where you could find just a little bit more softness in the shape. One more big breath in here. Exhale, release the twist. Plant your hands off of the blocks and step your left foot all the way to the back of the mat into a high plank pose. Lower yourself all the way down to the belly. Bring your hands down to your low ribs. And press your feet down firmly into the mat, maybe so much that your knees lift up off the mat. Take a big breath in, peel the head and shoulders up off of the mat. Into a low baby cobra. Imagine that with every inhale, the chest can open up, lengthen forward and up. Noticing where you're holding tension, what's working in the body, and what could be working just a bit harder. And tuck your toes and push your hips up and back as you breathe out, downward facing dog. Again, in this downward facing dog, feel free to pedal out the feet, dip the shoulders before we take this whole section on the other side. Take a big breath in, sweep your right leg up back behind you. And then exhale, step the right foot outside of the right hand and drop the back knee down into lizard lunge. So in lizard lunge, again, the same options are here. You can stay up on tented fingertips. If you have blocks, it might be nice to take the blocks on the inside of the right leg. You can stay up on the blocks. You can drop down to forearms on the blocks. And take a moment to acclimate yourself, set yourself up somewhere that feels good. Then once you arrive there, take your gaze off into the distance on something unmoving. And in the stillness, check in with the body. So notice the hips. Are you asking too much of the hips? Could you be asking more of the hips? Just being aware of where you're putting your energy into the posture. And checking if you're clenching the jaw or fighting through the shape. And slowly make your way back up onto the blocks so your hands are up. Take the left leg this time, kickstand it so it's parallel to the back of the mat, and then cartwheel your arms up, coming into that supported warrior two shape. You can stay the shape you're in. I'm gonna change so that you can see me. As you're in the supported warrior two shape, press down through the feet so that you can reach up through the crown of the head. Maybe take the right hand to the inside of the right leg. So the right leg presses into the right hand and the right hand presses back. And so through those two opposite movements, maybe you can find a sense of center, a sense of midline engagement. And use that to lift up a little bit higher through the crown of the head. You're welcome to stay like this. You can turn the left palm to the back of the space so the thumb faces down, then bring that to the sacrum or the low back. Maybe it sneaks all the way over into the right hip crease. So finding steadiness in the shape, maybe even close your eyes, make this really internal. And part of knowing when to let go, and when to engage is taking time and space and stillness to reflect and check in. One more big breath in here. As you exhale, release the left hand planted on the outside of the left leg. Reach the right foot out, parallel the edge to the top of the mat. Sweep the right arm up, coming into a supported side plank. So reach the crown of the head towards the back of the mat. Open up across the chest. Maybe you take your gaze up to the right fingertips. That causes discomfort or anything unpleasant in the neck. Take the gaze down to the left fingertips. Again, in a shape like this, you're challenging the body, you're asking for some balance. You're asking it for the body to be in a shape that it's not typically in, unless you do supported side planks during the day. And one more big breath in here. Exhale, plant the right hand down. Walk your hands down the long edge of the mat. Rebend into the front knee. And take this shape back into a more traditional lunging shape, the top of your mat. And sweep both arms up alongside the ears. And so hug the legs together, reach up through the fingertips. So the legs hugging together can help you find your midline as you reach up through the fingertips, up through the pinky edges of the fingers. Again, noticing what's engaged. The legs are engaged, the fingertips are reaching up. You can unclench the jaw, relax the shoulders down the back. And draw the palms together to touch, take a big inhale. Exhale, this time slice the air over to the right, hooking left elbow on the outside of the left leg, taking a twist. And if this twist feels like too much, you're welcome to take the left hand to the outside of the right leg and reach the right arm back. Again, being really mindful of what choice you're making, why you're making that choice. And I often think that the way that we get into a posture or the choices that we make about being in a posture are just as, if not more important than actually being in the shape, making a choice that works for you based on where you're at. One more big breath in here, reach the crown of the head towards the top of the mat. And exhale, release the twist, move your blocks off to the side if they're there. Step the right foot all the way to the back of the mat, lower yourself down to the belly. And so this time, bring the hands down to the low ribs, press down through the feet so much that the knees begin to lift up, and then peel the head, shoulders up off of the mat, coming into Cobra Pose. The shoulder blades come together, you press down into the feet, and that press of the feet can help lift the chest up. So again, notice what you're using in this posture, what muscles are engaged, where your attention is. One more big breath in. Exhale, tuck your toes, push your hips up and back into downward facing dog. And drop to the knees, and then come to find child's pose. So in child's pose, you can drop the head. You can take your arms out long, or you can bring them back, sweep them down towards the ankles. That might feel like a better variation for you. I'm just taking a moment here in this shape to calibrate, check in with the body. Maybe you've generated a little bit of heat, maybe some additional space. And again, coming back to that concept of exploring how the body works in stillness. And as you're ready, come back to sit on your heels. Place the hands down in the lap, sit up really tall. You get to work with a variation on the moon salute, the Chandra Namaskar. Again, really being aware of the transitions between the postures in this next sequence. Take a big inhale, sweep your arms up alongside your ears. And exhale, fold yourself down into child's pose. Maybe you walk your fingertips a little bit further forward than usual. Take a breath in, pull yourself forward into Cobra Pose. So really sliding through, lifting the collarbones up, using the breath to fuel to bring you there. And then tuck your toes, push your hips up and back into downward facing dog. Take your left foot and step it up towards your left thumb. And drop your back knee. Take a big breath in, sweep your arms up for a low lunge. So the whole inhale to get there. Then use your whole exhale to plant your hands and then step your right foot to the top of the mat and fold. Press down through your feet. Big breath in, sweep your arms up, come all the way up to stand, reach up, look up, really paying attention to how you get here. Exhale, hands down through heart center and off to the side in mountain pose. Inhale, sweep the arms all the way up. And exhale, fold all the way back down. Step your right foot to the back of the mat. Keep the knee lifted into runner's lunge. Take a big breath in, look forward. Exhale, left foot steps back, downward facing dog. Breath in, shift forward into a toes tucked upward facing dog. So pull the collarbones through, open up the chest, look forward. And exhale, drop to your knees, push back into child's pose. So maybe you sweep the hands back to the ankles to rest here. So this small shape is the beginning of this posture, of this sequence. And we'll flow through that again. taking the other side. And again, being really aware of how you transition between the shapes, how you can use the breath as a tool to bring more integrity to your transitions. Sit back on your heels. Big breath in, sweep your arms all the way up. And exhale, forward fold into child's pose. And big breath in, pull through into Cobra Pose, lift the chest, open up. Exhale, tuck your toes, hips come up and back, downward facing dog. Right foot steps up to right thumb, drop the back knee. Big breath in, sweep the arms up alongside the ears for low lunge, and using the whole breath with integrity transitioning. Exhale, plant your hands, left foot steps to the top of the foot mat and fold. Big breath in, get really tall, let the breath fill you up, let the breath take you there. Exhale, hands down through heart center. Inhale, sweep the arms all the way up. Exhale, fold all the way back down. Inhale, right foot steps back, low runner's lunge, gazes forward. And exhale, left foot steps back, downward facing dog. Inhale, shift forward, toes tucked, upward facing dog, pull the collarbones through. And exhale, drop the knees, sit back into child's pose, and rest for a few rounds of breath. We'll take that whole sequence again on the other side. On both sides one more time. We're ready to go again. Sit back on the heels. Big inhale, sweep the arms all the way up. Exhale, forward fold into child's pose. Inhale, pull the collarbones through, open up across the chest. Exhale, tuck the toes, hips come up and back, downward facing dog. This time, left foot steps to left thumb. Drop the back knee down. Big inhale, sweep the arms all the way up, low lunge. Exhale, plant the hands, step right foot to the top of the mat and fold. Big breath in, come all the way up to stand, look up, reach up, really letting the breath fill up the entire torso. And exhale, hands come down through heart center into the sides in mountain pose. Inhale, sweep the arms up. And exhale, forward fold. Left foot steps back into runner's lunge. Inhale, gaze comes forward, open up across the chest, hug the legs together. Exhale, right foot steps back, downward facing dog. Inhale, shift forward to toes tucked, upward facing dog. Open up the chest. Exhale, drop the knees, push back into child's pose. And settle here for a round of breath before we take the final side. And we've moved through this several times, so this last round, really being aware of the muscles engaged, and the movements involved, how you can move efficiently through the transitions in the way that serves you. Sit back on your heels, big breath in, sweep your arms all the way up. Exhale, fold into child's pose. Breath in, slide forward into Cobra. We pull the collarbones open and up here. Exhale, hips come up back for downward facing dog. Right foot steps to right thumb, left knee drops. The breath in takes the arms all the way up, trace a big arc for low lunge. Whole breath out, plant the hands, left foot to the top of the mat and fold. Big inhale, come all the way up to stand, reach up, look up, get long. Exhale, hands down through heart center and to the side for Savasana. Inhale, arms come all the way up, look up. Exhale, fold right back down. Right foot steps to the back of the mat, keep the knee lifted, runner's lunge. Inhale, look forward, gaze comes forward, open up the chest. Exhale, left foot steps back, downward facing dog. Inhale, toes tucked upward facing dog, shift forward, open up the chest, draw the shoulder blades together. Exhale, drop to the knees, push down into child's pose and settle there. A couple rounds of breath here in child's pose. Sitting here in this stillness, listening to the feedback of the body after moving through those salutes. Listening to the feedback of the breath. And take a half a round so that we can come to stand at the top of the mat. So sit back on your heels, take a breath in, sweep the arms up. And we exhale, forward fold back into the child's pose. And breath in to pull through into Cobra Pose, really open up the chest again. Exhale, hips up and back for downward facing dog. And pause here in downward facing dog. And then you can take a lot of little steps. You can take 2 big steps. You can hop, but make your way to a forward fold at the top of the mat. However works for you. This is really your opportunity to do what works for you. When you arrive in forward fold at the top of the mat, stay folded. You maybe grab a hold of opposite elbows overhead. Maybe you grab a hold of your big toes with your peace fingers. And just let the head be heavy, let the neck be heavy, let the shoulders be heavy. And lift the hips up towards the ceiling. So as the hips lift up towards the ceiling, the head hangs down. Really balancing the amount of energy that you're putting into the posture with how much release and softness you're finding in the shape. And this might be different today than it was the last time you practiced this. It might be different than how you imagined that you'd be practicing this. You know, just being in constant inquiry, being aware. Take an inhale to halfway lift. Your hands can come to blocks or shins or to the thighs. Open up across the chest, find a nice long flat back. Then exhale, fold yourself all the way back down. Press into your feet, big inhale, sweep your arms all the way up. Look up, hands down through heart center. And find mountain pose. And so I'll turn to face you. You can stay the direction that you're facing. We'll practice tree pose here. So take just a moment before we take tree pose to really find a nice strong foundation. So rock your weight forward into the balls of the feet, rock it back into the heels, into the outside edges of the feet, and the inside edges. Maybe with all that work, you got a little bit of feedback about how your feet are grounded. Maybe you make some choices. Maybe you take it a little bit wider. Maybe you shrink that stance. Again, being an inquiry can help you figure out what that shape is and where you need to be. Take a little bit more weight into your left leg and take the right foot up anywhere against the left leg. So maybe it comes up to the calf with the ball of the foot still on the mat. Maybe it comes up a little bit higher. And take your hands together at heart center. Take your gaze to fix on something unmoving off in the distance. You're always welcome to take the arms up alongside the ears. That might feel like it's more fitting for you. And then here, as you're in this shape, you're settling into the stillness here. You observe how actively the left foot is moving. There are countless bones and muscles working to keep you stable here. And that work is required in this shape. Maybe you take your attention to something the jaw, the shoulders. They're feeling tight and engaged. You can find a bit of softness there. And being in constant relationship with the posture. Just like a tree would be in relationship with its environment. And slowly release this entire shape down. Right foot comes back down to the mat. You can shake that out. You wiggle the legs side to side, maybe you rock forward and back before we take this on the other side. And setting up again with the same intention as we did on the first side, even though we've already been here before. Press down through the right foot. Left foot comes up anywhere along the right leg. So the ball of the foot can stay planted. That's an awesome place to be. Also come up maybe more towards the calf, maybe up a little bit higher. One's not better than the other. So it's really the one that feels sustainable and feels like it works for you. Gaze comes off into the distance. It'll help you balance. Bring your hands together at heart center. Maybe you take the hands up alongside the ears. So again, noticing what's working. In the right foot, the muscles, the bones, the core. If your gaze is fixed at something, what if you can make that gaze just a bit softer? Working with finding steadiness. Reach up a little bit higher through the crown of the head. A little bit taller for the final breaths in this shape. And exhale, slowly let everything back down to the mat. Take a moment, you can shake out the feet, shake out the hands. And then face either edge of your mat, so you're facing the way that I am, the long edge of the mat. And take your feet wide. It doesn't matter which direction you're facing, as long as you can still see up at the screen. And take the feet wide on your mat, so you're in a wide-legged stance. Bring both hands onto your hips. And so again, taking that same concept of finding something steady to gaze at, turn your left toes and face them to the top of your mat or the top edge of the mat. Then bend into the left knee. So the legs are in a warrior two shape. Hands are on the hips to help differentiate the lower half of the body from the upper half of the body. So press down into the feet, reach up from the hips. Once you're feeling really steady and strong here, we've built this shape from the ground up, then you can take your fingertips out and come into a more traditional Virabhadrasana 2, warrior 2. Bend steady into the front knee, press into the outside edge of the back foot, finding that steadiness, reaching up through the crown of the head. So a lot like the work that we did in the supported warrior 2, except without the hand action. So the press of the foot into the mat is what helps lift the crown of the head up. And flip your left palm to face the top of the space. Take a big inhale, reach up and back, reverse warrior. And so the left fingertips reach up and back behind you. The right hand comes down along the back of the leg. Maybe you take these next few rounds of breath to find a little bit of space along the left side body. And press down through the feet, engage the legs, have a really strong foundation, reach up through the fingers. Maybe you release the jaw, maybe you release the neck a bit. And carefully, being really mindful about this transition, take a big inhale here. As you exhale, come up, plant your left forearm on your left thigh, and reach the right arm alongside the ear for a variation on extended side angle pose. Let's take a big breath in here, reach the crown of the head forward so that you can telescope your ribs out towards the top of your mat. As you exhale, open up the chest, maybe lean back and roll the ribs open a bit. You might be feeling some activity in the left leg. Take a big breath in, cartwheel your arms back up into a traditional warrior two, reaching out. And straighten into the left leg. Turn the left toes back to face the long edge of the mat. Bring your hands back down to your hips. So we'll work through that same thing on the other side. So turn your right toes to face the other long edge of your mat. Bend into the right knee. So when this is looking a lot like warrior two shape with the hands on the hips. Press down through the feet, through the outside edges of the feet. Hug the legs together and then reach up through the crown of the head. Once you feel really strong and supported and steady here, then you can take your fingertips out long into a more traditional warrior two, Virabhadrasana two. And keep your gaze forward. Maybe your gaze comes over the right fingertips. And since we've already done this on one side, you know where we're headed. So maybe you can go there with a little bit more mindfulness, noticing what you took into the last shape, and maybe you want to make adjustments on this side. So flip the right palm up, take a big inhale, reach up and back, reverse warrior. Left hand can come anywhere on the left leg. Bend deeply into the front knee as you simultaneously reach up and back through the right fingertips, taking the breath into the right side body. Maybe you kind of space in that area. The legs are working, fingertips are working. Unclench your jaw, maybe stick your tongue out. Relax the eyes. Intentionally but mindfully moving through this next transition. Take a big breath in, reach the fingertips up and back. Exhale, bring the right forearm onto the right thigh. Reach the left arm up alongside the ears for the variation on extended side angle. And take a long breath in, reach the crown of the head, reach the entire ribs up towards the top corner of the room. Then use the exhale to roll the ribs open, maybe lean back a little bit. Finding a little bit of that Cobra pose in the chest. So it's open, the collarbones are open. Noticing what's steady and strong in this shape. What might be beginning to feel a bit fatigued. And you can make any little micro adjustments to stay here for one more round of breath. And slowly cartwheel the arms back up into a more traditional warrior two. Straighten into the right leg. Turn the right toes so they're back to where they started. You can take step, or you can hop both feet together to stand at the mat. And so now come to lay down on your back. If you have a blanket down on the mat, I'd suggest that you maybe fold it back up, set it off to the side. If you have blocks, you might want to have them nearby. You come to lay down on the back, bend your knees. You're setting up for bridge pose here. So keep the knees bent, press down into the feet, walk the feet as close as you can up to the sit bones. And if you want to take a supported bridge here, you can take your blocks and have them nearby and place them under the sacrum, or you can take a non-supported bridge, whichever really matches your energy level. Walk your shoulder blades together a bit so they create a little shelf for the heart. On an inhale or an exhale, press your feet down into the mat and think of your knees rolling forward towards your toes so that the pelvis lifts up towards the sky. So you can stay in this active bridge, squeezing the outside, squeezing the legs together and hugging, grabbing a hold of the mat and pulling it underneath you. You can also slide one or two blocks underneath the sacrum. So that's the flat part where the vertebra on the spine fuse together down at the base of the spine. And you can take a supported bridge there. And whether you're working in the supported or the non-supported bridge, just imagine that you could create a little bit more space along the back of the neck. So the chin draws a little bit closer in towards the chin. Maybe you press and that opens up the frontal hip points just a touch. Again, whether you're working in the supported or non-supported variation, just take stock of what you've brought into this shape, what muscle engagement, where you might be able to find a bit more softness, a bit more letting go. Being really mindful of how we come down here. So slowly make your way all the way back down to the mat, moving vertebra by vertebra. If you're in the supported bridge, press into the feet just enough so that you can move the blocks off to the side. And really taking this transition as slowly and mindfully as you possibly can. Really noticing the articulation of the spine, how the breath changes with the spine moving back down to the mat. And eventually land the sacrum down. So press into the feet just a little bit so that you can shift the hips over to the left, and then let both your knees knock over to the right, taking a very simple supine twist on the back. And so if this feels like a lot on the legs, you can take a blanket or a block and just place it in between the knees. It can help take a little bit off of the low back. Wherever you're working, let the left shoulder be heavy. You can take your arms out wide like a T or cactus them out. In these final closing postures, I'll encourage you to explore really letting go. Letting go of any unnecessary muscle engagement. Unnecessary thoughts. Unnecessary attachments to how this pose should be practiced. And abide a bit more in the experience of what it's like to be here. Take a long, slow breath into the belly, expand the belly in every direction. As you exhale, bring the knees back up through center. Take a moment there to press into the feet, shift the hips over to the right, and then immediately let the knees knock back down over to the left, taking the same twist on the other side. Same options apply here. If you'd like to place a blanket or a block underneath the knees or between the legs, that can be really nice. And let the right shoulder be heavy, the back of the head be heavy. And letting go of any work that's not necessary in this shape. Relaxing the fingers and toes. Unclenching the jaw. Taking in the stillness. Take a long, slow breath to fill in the low belly. Expand it in every direction. Use the exhale to bring the knees back up through center and press into the feet to square the hips off. So hug both knees up into your chest. And then gather just the left knee. Extend the right leg out long. And take a big inhale here. Exhale, hug the left knee into the chest. Take a big inhale, switch the legs. So hug the right knee into the chest, extend the left leg long. And then exhale, hug the right knee into the chest. And inhale, switch left knee in. Exhale, hug the left knee in. Inhale, switch, right knee comes up. Exhale, hug the right knee in. Inhale, hug both knees in this time. And as you exhale, extend both legs out long. And spread the body out wide, set up for Shadasana. And close the eyes or let the eyes be heavy. And rest, Shadasana. Begin to deepen your breath. Introduce some small movement back into the body. And carefully make your way up to a comfortable seat. It's just as much mindfulness in this transition as you got into the postures tonight. As you arrive seated, sit up nice and tall. And draw your hands together at heart center if that's a resonant gesture for you. And take a moment to notice if there's anything that we practiced tonight that you can take off into the rest of your week. Take a long, slow breath in through the nose. And let a long breath out through the mouth. And thank you all so much for being here with me today. It is a true pleasure to be here with you. And again, my name is Justin. I'll be here if you have any questions. And thank you all so much.
Thank you, Justin.
Yeah.